This evening, Budget Day 2022, President Ali announces that this year's budget is people-friendly. Jamaican national detained by CANU amid narcotics operation. A $25 million lawsuit was filed against the CHILDCARE Protection Agency for neglect of its responsibilities. In the region, Peru begins COVID vaccination for 5 to 11 age group amid surge in cases. And internationally, Ukraine-Russia crisis, Western governments puts their forces on alert as tension rise. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. Minister within the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, will be presenting the 2022 national budget today. On Tuesday, President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, in a brief virtual address, stated that Budget 2022 will allocate resources to directly deal with the global surge in the cost of living. In his speech, the President acknowledged the economic burdens that Guyanese and the rest of the world are experiencing due to major worldwide shortages and logistical challenges. Despite this, the President stated that the government is committed to alleviating the burdens that many Guyanese are experiencing as a result of rising living costs.
I am aware of the impact that cost of living is having. While we cannot address all the issues surrounding cost of living, I've instructed that resources be set aside to address this issue. Though this is a global issue, and much of it is imported, as the world is experiencing a 30-year high in inflation rates due to soaring food costs. Notwithstanding all of this government has a commitment to do all it can within its budgetary constraint and framework to help the population of this country. Therefore, I've asked the Minister of Finance to set aside a sizable allocation to address issues of cost of living.
He further stated that the allocation will be used through consultations with communities across the country to identify specific ways the initiatives to deploy the budgeted funding to ease the burdens on the people.
The budget is about removing burdens. Budget 2022 is about creating opportunities, reducing burdens, enhancing welfare, giving back more to the population, enhancing livelihood, improving living conditions, and improving the quality of life of the Guyanese people.
A Jamaican national was detained by CANU amid a narcotics operation on the east coast of Demerara. More from Dale Jarvis.
Officers of the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit acting on information conducted a narcotics operation at Nabakalas Village, East Coast Demerara on January 25, 2022. They discovered a camp located on a half-acre of land along with a total of 4,000 to 5,000 cannabis plants, seedlings, processed cannabis, and 1 kilogram of mixed seeds. There was also a shotgun, a crossbow with multiple arrows, and several types of live ammo discovered. 46-year-old Winston Thompson, a Jamaican national of Victoria Village on the east coast of Demerara, was found on the camp during the CANU's interception. He was arrested and escorted to CANU headquarters along with the weapons, ammunition, processed cannabis, and seeds. Investigations are presently ongoing. CANU has stated that they continue to conduct operations around the country aimed at dismantling the networks that are engaged in the cultivation, sale, as well as distribution of narcotics. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jarvis.
Thanks, Dale. On Tuesday, January 25th, the executive members of a Partnership for National Unity held their first executive committee meeting for 2022. During that meeting, Mr. David Granger declared his decision to demit office as chair of APNU. Mr. Granger demitted office with immediate effect, paving the way for the election of a new chairman. Subsequently, PNCR leader Aubrey Norton was elected to the position. General Secretary of the APNU, Joseph Harman, also reported his decision to demit office. Following Harman's resignation, APNU will soon elect a new leader of the opposition. Members of the People's National Congress Reform Party have stated that they want Aubrey Norton to be promoted to opposition leader and elected to Parliament. For Norton to become a member of Parliament, one of the current PNC and APNU sitting members of Parliament would have to be replaced by him. Harmon has been asked to serve as General Secretary for another 7 days by the committee. This is to facilitate the smooth transition of a new General Secretary. The members of the executive thank Granger and Harmon for their contributions to the development of APNU to where it is today. Stick around after the break. COVID-19 booster shots could soon become a requirement for traveling to Guyana, and CHILDCARE and Protection Agency sued for $25 million.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Survival Shopping Complex brings to you its delivery service, Shop through WhatsApp. This process is simple. All you need to do is call or message your grocery list to 613-9683 and we will select your items for you and have them delivered directly to you, even out of town. This is convenient because we can stay on the phone with you as we select your favorite brands. We're happy to do your shopping for you. Contact us on WhatsApp today and shop price smart at Survival Shopping Complex.
Taxi service, transportation for every occasion, short drop, airport, weddings, funerals, and much more. We're located at Lot H. Durbin and Vicingen Road, next to Green City Bar. For honest, efficient, and reliable service, call Kingdom Based Taxi Service at 648-5959 or 227-7937. You can count on us.
Welcome back. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony said the COVID-19 booster shots could soon become a requirement for persons who wish to travel in and out of the country. The new measure is being considered as the government continues to grapple with the rising number of COVID cases in Guyana.
In the near future, as we start getting more people to take the booster doses, that is something that would be under consideration to perhaps look at booster doses as well.
Minister Anthony also reiterated the current travel requirements, which he firmly believes is the reason for the low number of imported cases in the country.
Right now, the same basic two things. One, full vaccination, and
to date, Guyana has about 76 imported cases of COVID-19, with just about 5 or 6 for 2022. According to Dr. Anthony, the number has not climbed radically due to imposed travel restriction.
We have been monitoring, but we're not getting a lot of cases because if people abide by the requirements, then if they test positive, they can travel, and therefore we are able to eliminate people with COVID coming into Guyana. So I think the measures that we have in place have been working. That's why this number of 76 basically remained static for a long period.
A $25 million lawsuit has been brought against the Childcare and Protection Agency and its director, Anne Green, for the carelessness and violation of child protection laws by the sister of a 14-year-old girl. The family is arguing that the Childcare and Protection Agency neglected its duties when they did not object to the arrest and continued detention of the teen at the East Penitence Police Station on December 3, 7, 2020. The family is asking the court to declare that the Childcare and Protection Agency and its director violated the statutory duty of care of the child as imposed on them by the Childcare and Protection Agency Act 2009 and the Juvenile Offenders Act Chapter 1003. The family is seeking damages in excess of $25 million from the Childcare and Protection Agency and Anne Green for negligence. While in custody at the police station, the teen was in a lockup with adult female prisoners, contrary to provisions of the law and duties imposed on the Childcare and Protection Agency. She was subjected to sleeping in an upright position on a wooden chair, sleeping on a mattress and cardboard on cold concrete, sexual predatory advances by other prisoners, being foot-cuffed to a wooden chair by her ankles for hours, and infinite pain and trauma. Don't go away after the break. Peru begins COVID vaccination for 5 to 11 age group amid surge in cases, and Hong Kong struggles to contain COVID outbreak. But before that, here's the bridge retraction schedule.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 4-6 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Hurry down to Zasco on 15 North Road between Camp and Wellington Streets. Quality products at low cost for every room in your home. 65 and 55 inches high-stand 4K smart TVs. Samsung French door fridges. Black & Decker appliances, queen and king size Canadian-made mattresses. German-made pressure pots in 5 to 9 liters. 12-piece pot sets, knife sets, cutlery sets and pans, commercial fans. Samsung smart stoves. Canadian-made 3-piece recliner sofa sets. Air fryers and Hamilton Beach hot and cold water dispenser.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. With the world's highest COVID-19 mortality rate, Peruvians have suffered more than most in the pandemic. And with the Omicron variant causing a sharp increase in infections, children are hit hard. Al Jazeera's Marina Sanchez reports.
5-year-old William Pacheco doesn't like getting vaccinated, but his mother Elizabeth couldn't be happier. He suffers from a rare disease. She says he sometimes runs from the house, putting his life in danger, but now he is protected.
Now I'll be relaxed with the vaccine. I know that he will be protected because at some point he gets infected. I won't be afraid that he could die.
Peru's government has launched a vaccination campaign for 5 to 11-year-olds. The aim is to vaccinate 4.3 million nationwide. The Omicron variant has health workers worried, especially here at the National Institute of Children's Health. Doctors here treat rare or grave medical conditions.
The COVID cases have increased. In 2 years, we've treated 5,000 children with respiratory conditions, and 350 were COVID. This year alone, we already have 800 patients diagnosed, and it's because of Omicron.
The health ministry says nearly 850 children have died after contracting coronavirus since the pandemic began. Infected children occupy 2/3 of all intensive care beds. The health minister says the number of children who test positive for COVID-19 is likely to rise. This as health authorities warn they are close to issuing a red alert, as there are only a few ICU beds left for children around the country. Doctors and parents hope the vaccination campaign goes swiftly, especially because schools are expected to reopen in March. For 2 years, most children have remained at home. Leonie Lopez says his 7-year-old boy's neuropathic illness worsened.
The need to walk and walk, the stress of not going out, seeing friends or the countryside, being in open spaces, has been very hard for them.
Experts say the lockdown has had a devastating psychological effect on kids. But Leonie says his son can make up for some of the lost time and get some relief, with the certainty, though, that he is protected against the virus. Mariana Sanchez, Al Jazeera, Lima, Peru.
Internationally, about 7,000 residents at the center of a COVID-19 cluster in Hong Kong have been ordered to stay home after the virus spread to a third tower block, Al Jazeera's Britt Clement reports.
Anger and disappointment for thousands of residents confined to their homes on the Kwai Chung estate, one of Hong Kong's largest public housing complexes. A 5-day lockdown was supposed to end Wednesday until more infections were detected.
To play safe, protecting the residents as well as preventing the spread of this virus, we have no choice but to extend the restricted testing declaration for another 2 days.
Those in lockdown say the government orders have been confusing.
The government announced the arrangement very late. We have no idea when to go for the mandatory tests. I think the government's plan is without due diligence. It is inconvenient for elderly like me. We are not familiar with smartphones.
People living here say that the daily queues for testing make them anxious because the area is overcrowded and waiting times can be too long. Poor hygiene conditions and piles of rubbish are also a concern.
Very bad. There is garbage in the staircases every day. The government's arrangement is very bad too. As you can see from this queue, it is much easier to get COVID.
And many worry that the strict lockdown will be extended beyond Friday and into the Chinese Lunar New Year holiday, which begins next week. The restrictions are part of Hong Kong's goal of stamping out all COVID transmission.
Yeah, I think the reason why we are adopting a dynamic zero policy is to minimize the stress on the healthcare system. Even though Omicron, we know that it's a very mild disease. And then, of course, currently there are relatively few cases in hospital, and I think none in the ICU right now.
The strict lockdown here at Kwai Chung Estate is an unprecedented move by the Hong Kong government. It's similar to the strategies seen across the border in mainland China, which also takes a no-tolerance approach to the virus. Concern too in China's capital. The Winter Olympics are due to start next week in Beijing. Mass testing for 2 million residents is underway in the southern Fengtai district of Beijing as infections there increase. China hopes mass testing and aggressive quarantine rules will contain the virus, but as it prepares to ring in the year of the tiger, ongoing restrictions are proving that Omicron is tough to tame. Britt Clement, Al Jazeera, Hong Kong.
And finally, the crisis between Russia and Ukraine has prompted one of the biggest mobilizations of Western forces in Europe in generations, but it is a delicate balancing act. Al Jazeera's Nufia Barker reports.
Practice drills over the Baltic Sea by British, French and Danish pilots. Western powers are honing their response to Russia's military build-up near Ukraine with a display of combat readiness. The Danes have also sent fighter jets and a frigate to join NATO efforts in the Baltic. Do too much and the alliance risks being drawn into a conflict in a country they have no treaty obligation to protect. Do too little and a potential Russian invasion risks destabilising not just Ukraine, but the entire region.
If the worst happens and the destructive firepower of the Russian army were to engulf Ukraine's towns and cities, I shudder to contemplate the tragedy that would ensue. And the bloodshed comparable to the First War in Chechnya or Bosnia.
4,000 NATO troops are on standby in the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. Once part of the Soviet Union, they're now ardent NATO members, and thousands more reinforcements are ready to deploy there. In Ukraine itself, small contingents of American and British troops have been training local forces. A flow of military aid's been arriving too. This a shipment of British anti-tank weapons. And these are boxes of American ammunition to help Ukraine defend itself. Since 2014, the US alone has spent $2.5 billion arming the Ukrainian military with defence systems and electric warfare units, all at no cost. And the EU says it's mobilising all resources to fend off cyber attacks.
The Commission proposes a new emergency macrofinancial assistance package.
Agreeing also this week on a $1.7 billion financial aid package to help Ukraine and, importantly, Ukrainians weather any drawn-out conflict. All this, of course, is what we know about. Covert and overt operations are happening simultaneously, with the UK last week claiming the Russians were planning to install this man as a puppet president following a successful takeover of the country. Russia dismissed the claims. True or false, NATO wants Russia to know its joint intelligence efforts are trained on Moscow.
Western agencies that are analysing this know, for instance, that right now the Russian forces aren't really ready to conduct any kind of attack against Ukraine, but they know that in 2 weeks they will be. So it's about, as in all forms of deterrence or compellence, it's about signalling intent.
But it may be the threat of never-seen-before sanctions against Russia by the EU, US and others that prove the most effective deterrent in the West's arsenal. Russia's 2014 annexation of Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula caught allied Western forces off guard, with European security once again at stake. The NATO alliance wants its presence firmly felt. Neve Barker, Al Jazeera, London.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. For this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. Tune in on Thursday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.